Battle Cat took me to meet one of my best friends. He's deceased right now. Tweety Bird Lok, Richard Johnson. I met him in Compton, so actually Battle Cat had took me over to meet him, and he had a group called Bodyguard back then.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure if I wanted to be, involved, but I know I was into this hip hop thing because Cat was DJing back then. So when I met Tweedy, it was like he had a group called Bodyguard, and then he said, "You want to be in the group?" Because I call myself being a dancer back then, okay. So I had got into the hip hop scene, and I got pretty dope. So I ended up being part of the group. So fast forward to, we were at a studio, and Tweedy was in there, and then it was me, him, Battle Cat, and there was another cat named Jermaine. Everybody knows him as Red Rum. And we were all in there. We were working on Tweedy's album. Battle Cat was just finishing it up, and Tweedy was just playing around, saying, "Man, it would be dope if I can get the Bloods and Crips, because I know a lot of Bloods and a lot of Crips." And he said it would be dope if I could put a project together where we just get all of them, like, they got all these people that's studio rappers. He said it would be dope if I could get my real Compton OGs, like, because he said it's a lot of talent in the neighborhood, because he knew from shooting basketball. He used to work with the youth in Compton. So he knew there was a lot of talent.
I was one of the very few people I even know who had a tape of this dude. And I got it from Big A's shop on Alondra in Atlantic. It was called Underworld Records. And I'm talking about Tweety Bird Lok. Rest in peace. Man, dog. And like I said, I haven't ran into anybody who I don't have the tape now. I wish I did. It probably just melted away or some shit. You remember how tapes were. But talk to us about Tweety Bird Lok, and then I want to talk a little bit about Bangin on Wax.
Yeah, that's my cousin, Tweety Bird Lok, man. Yeah, man, I hated to lose him. But I always used to tell them, man, I always wanted Tweety Bird Lok, man, to talk to people about Bangin on Wax. Yeah, but I used to tell them all the time, man, Tweet, you gotta tell us. I should try to get him on like DJ Val. Say he probably would pay you, man. I should try to tell him.
Oh, that's
but we never used to. He never like wanted to do that shit really. Like he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Write the book, all kind of shit." Tweet wanted to do, man. But Tweet, man, that was a good dude.
Yeah. Were you? I know he's your cousin, but were you around the time when him and them were because he was at the forefront. He was one of the people behind the scenes of Bangin on Wax, wasn't he?
Right.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, did he ever tell you any stories of how that got started or anything like that? Now that he's gone, you can kind of maybe share a story in his honor.
Yeah, I know all that shit. He said he got started. Like he was talking. He was him. Red Rum was there.
Yeah.
I don't know all the details though, but I heard somebody talking on your show the other day. They pretty much had it right too. All of and they was there deeper than me too. But I just know the story that he told me. But he used to tell me that because if you notice, like everybody on there that's Crips is from Compton,
right?
No Bloods from Compton, no Paru from Compton. They all. That's why he gave that to. He gave that to Red Rum. You get all them. I ain't gonna get no Bloods from Compton on you. So it was just all Crips from Compton, or the couple of Watts people, stuff like that.
I know Red Rum was responsible for bringing the people from LA, and him and a couple others, Sin Lok, Blue Rag. I know they were big in that, but
Tweety Bird brought the girl though, Bloody Mary.
Oh, word! That's the story.
Yeah,
okay, man. R.I.P. Bloody Mary, man.
Yeah, R.I.P. to her too. But yeah, Tweety Bird found her in Virginia. She ain't really from out here.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he found her in Virginia, and then they came. I don't want to mess her legacy up, nothing, but shit, real is real. Yeah, I used to tell Tweety Bird Lok though. I used to always clown with him though. I used to say, "Look, man, Y'all know y'all the ones who fucked the world up, man. He's like, well, man, why you say that? You know what I mean? He's like, but nah, we ain't meant to do that shit. But you know, they the ones exposed gang banging all over the world.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. One of my best friends grew up in North Carolina, and he told me when that album came out, Crips and Bloods literally started popping up everywhere.
Yep, that did it. That kicked it off right there. I always tell them, like, man, y'all fucked the world up, man. All my mixtapes is really like, I took it like banging on wax, like from what Tweety do, because all my mixtapes go Crip Blood, Crip Blood, Crip Blood, Crip Blood.
Oh, okay, I never knew that.
Yeah, all of them is Crip Blood, Crip Blood, Crip Blood. Because I know I had to stay. You know, I mess with everybody in Compton, so that's how I always wanted to keep. I try to have Crips Blood, a couple of Hispanics on there too.
Love that.
You know what I mean? The ones that mess with me, I mess with them.
Remember the time Tweety Bird Lok dissed Eazy-E and NWA?
And of course you ain't a role model, so fuck you and WA in your old age bottle.
I remember going to Underworld Records in Compton, right off of Alondra and Castlegate. One of my favorite places to buy music from back in the day. Especially since it was so convenient, being that my best friend lived right around the corner. We didn't have a car, so we couldn't drive to the Compton swap meet to get music at that time, so Underworld Records was our first choice. I remember purchasing the Tweety Bird Lok tape from Underworld Records, and I tell you, I wish I still had that tape to this day. That thing would have been a collector's item. I can't find that tape anywhere today. Tweety Bird Lok was a Compton rapper and producer who was active in the early to mid 90s. He resided in the same Kelly Park Compton neighborhood that my best friend lived in, so he was sort of like a local legend, a hood figure when I was coming up and running around in that area. His tape, 187 Ride By, was played all over the city, and it became an underground cult classic. Tweety Bird Lok was also very instrumental in putting together the Bangin on Wax project. If you remember, several of the Crips on the blue side of the tape were members of Kelly Park. That was mainly due to Tweety Bird Lok. But why did he diss Eazy-E and NWA? Let's talk about it.
The only reason punk you come to Compton is to get the scoop. Pass out teachers to promote your group.
According to multiple accounts, the immediate cause of the Tweety Bird Lok diss was perceived disrespect. Tweety Bird Lok overheard or learned that Eazy-E said he would never sign Tweety Bird Lok. Tweety took that personally. Being snubbed by one of the biggest figures in rap at the time, Eazy-E, made Tweety Bird feel some type of way. This led him to release direct, vicious songs responding to Eazy-E, his manager Jerry Heller, and artists connected to Ruthless Records. Tweety referred to Eazy as a sellout, criticizing his relationship with Jerry Heller.
40 G's in the hands of a white man, trusted in him before you think about your own clan.
Songs like What's Really Going On from the 187 Ride By took aim at NWA, Eazy-E, Boogie Down Productions, Tim Dog, who had previously dissed Compton with the song called Compton, and Terry B, one of Eazy-E's artists. This is the song everyone was bumping. I remember thinking, damn, he's going hard on Eazy-E. Pause, even though pause wasn't even a thing back then. The song A Hoe Is a Bitch specifically criticizes Eazy-E and calls out HWA, hoes with attitudes, and cocaine from Above the Law, who were connected to Ruthless Records. But it wasn't just Tweety Bird's first album where he was going at Eazy and NWA. The disses continued on Tweety's follow-up album, No Holds Barred, on the song Y'all Can't Fuck With Us. Tweety went in on not only Eazy-E, but MC Ren as well. Eazy-E never publicly or musically replied to any of the disses. Some sources note that Tweedy and Eazy eventually ended their feud before Eazy passed in 1995. Amongst underground heads, tracks like What's Really Going On are still cited as underrated diss tracks. But what do you think? Do you remember Tweety Bird Lok? He has since passed away, but there is no doubt he left his mark on underground Compton hip-hop. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button.
First of all, the person who was paying for the record was named Ronnie Phillips. And Ronnie had a best friend, a really close friend named Tweety Bird Lok.
Okay.
Tweety Bird Lok was from Kelly Park in Compton.
Okay.
He was neighbors with Dre and Eazy and them cats. And Ronnie was doing a record on a kid named D, and D was a Muslim. And Ronnie wanted to do gangster type music, and D was with it. But when Ronnie started putting naked white women in the videos and stuff like that, D wasn't feeling that. D shook the spot. So Ronnie turned to Tweety Bird. He said, Tweety Bird, you should rap, right? Tweety Bird never would tell you he was a rapper. Okay. But he ended up making a record called he was doing some LL Cool J type rhymes, and Ronnie was like, that's sitting on the bus stop sucking on a lollipop. Well, let's do some gangster shit. Sitting on the bus stop waiting for a bite to drop. Let's do some shit like that. And Tweety Bird took that and ran with it, and he made 187 Drive-By. Okay. Right? Which is a pretty legendary record when you look I read an interview with Scarface, and Scarface said that was his favorite record. Wow. Right? So, that being said, Tweet comes up with the idea, man, let's do a Bangin' on Wax record, right? Let's do that. And Ronnie was like, you know what? That ain't a bad idea, right? So the whole concept came from Tweety's brain, and he was actually the catalyst for bringing a lot of the hoods there. Okay. Tweet was the man. Okay. Whether he got properly credited or not, it's not the issue. I'm telling you, all came out of Tweet's brain.
You know, we did that Tweety Bird Lok album with Tweety Bird, rest in peace. Tweety came on our block and asked for some rappers because he got writer's block on his project. So at that time, there was a lot of people, you know, not communicating with Eric. I guess everybody thought he owed him something. You know what I mean?
What you mean by that? What you mean by that?
Well, because of the dudes, you know, people he hung out with, and you know, if you were an artist, say like the homies that was hustling didn't have an issue with Eric. That was just love, you know what I mean? Because he got along with the South Side neighborhoods, Kelly Parks and Atlantic Drives. And he got along with the looters and, you know, Bloods and stuff, man. So it wasn't a big issue, but there was a lot of dissing going on within the real homeboys, you know, people we grew up with or hung around. You know, Tweety Bird had, you know, put out a record dissing NWA. Okay. You know, and he overlooked that. You know, he overlooked that. Because I remember one night, the record came out, Tweety Bird dropped the record on Quality Records with Rush Regans and them. Yeah, through that guy, I forget, Ronnie Phillips, rest in peace. Right. They dropped that record, and Eric, it was funny, man, because when they dropped that record, he really didn't respond, but we was at Wide Tracks around the corner recording that record from Solar Records, where Drayden was recording. Okay. You know what I mean? And Snoop them was around the corner from Wide Tracks when they was recording the album at Wide Tracks right around the corner. And I can remember the night Dre pulled up because we didn't know that Death Row was right around the corner at Solar recording. We didn't know. But Ronnie Phillips knew. Ronnie Phillips was shopping Tweety Bird to Death Row. We didn't know. And so that's what, because Tweety Bird, we grew up with Dre. So Ronnie take it around there. Dre listened to it. Him and Mr. Lake comes around the corner in this Beamer. He was like, let me talk to Tweety. So he say, Tweety, we'll fuck with you, but you got to take me off of that and DOC off of that and Mr. Lake off of that. And Tweety was like, nah, you know what I mean? Hey. And so that kind of like put a little something, but Eazy never responded to that. So then after that project, we did the Bangin' on Wax project, Bloods and Crips.
Right.
That's when Eric seen the talent from homeboys that he did give action to. Now, don't get me wrong. He did he did always give him opportunity. Like, give me some music. I'll fuck with you. I got an avenue. But we could never, I let them be the artists. They could never get the production to get the record. So he sent Sir Jinx around there.
Okay.
Get him a couple tracks, record them, and let me hear the demo. You know what I mean? So when he got the demo, it wasn't to the standard of him being in the music business. So he really couldn't do nothing with the guys.
My best friend Camille lived in Compton in the 90s, so I was over his house all the time. At one point in my life, Compton was like my second home. Down the street from my best friend's house on the corner of Castlegate and Alondra was a music store owned by an OG by the name of Big A. Every Tuesday we would go inside to see what new tapes came out. See kids, unlike today, back in those days, for whatever reason, albums were only released on Tuesdays. Yeah, I still don't get it. Anyway, one day we walked in and Big A was playing a tape that was bumping. I said, "What's that, Big A?" He said, "That's that Tweety Bird Lok." Tweety Bird Lok was born Richard Johnson, and he is affiliated with the Kelly Park Compton Crips, which is the hood my best friend Camille grew up in. Tweety Bird Lok was very instrumental in organizing the Bangin on Wax project. If you notice on the Crip side of the album, most of the rappers were representing Compton Crip. You had Atlantic Drive, South Side, Neighborhood, and of course, Kelly Park. Eazy-E actually grew up in Kelly Park and was good friends with Tweety Bird Lok. But due to a business venture that never panned out, Eazy and Tweety Bird Lok parted ways. Eventually, Tweety released a song titled "A Hoe Is a Bitch," which was a direct diss at his former friend. The song also dissed manager Jerry Heller and Cocaine of Above the Law. Tweety Bird also had beef with New York rapper Tim Dog, who earlier released a song titled "Fuck Compton." Tweety would eventually respond to this with a song titled "The South Bronx," which was also directed at hip-hop pioneer KRS-One. The classic album that we bought that day from Big A's record store was 187 Ride By, which would eventually go on to be a hood cult classic. Thank you for tuning in to Dusty Vision TV. Please hit that like button if you have not already. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, you just might appreciate this bonus clip I'm about to play for you right now. Talk to us about Toddy Tee, man. Now let's pivot over to Toddy Tee, another groundbreaking figure in the early West Coast hip hop. What do you remember about his come up, and how did you guys link up?
I don't remember how specifically how we linked up, but I think it was through Spade. But Todd is another humble person, extremely humble. I've always been there for Todd. He's always been there for me. I learned something from Todd before too. Now, mind you, I'm a teenager at this time. So now I'm maybe 20. I may be 20 years old at this time. And I remember Todd calling me one day and was like, "Can I use your speakers? He has to use something of mine." And he said, "No." I said, "The only time you call me is when you need me." And he said to me, and I'll never forget these words, he said, "Well, that's the time you're supposed to call people."
I mean, damn.
He's not even that much older than me, but he said that, and it stuck to my brain even to this day. Now, if somebody else would have said it that wasn't Todd, and Todd been consistent our whole relationship, even if I don't talk to him for years, if I call him right now and he got something I need, guess what? He's going to say, "Okay, DMG, come get it." So with those words coming from him, I receive it. Because if I needed him for something right now, he's going to come through. If he got it, he's going to come through. So, yeah, but overall, Todd is still, to this day, still good. I talked to him, I don't know, about 6 months ago. We don't talk often, but it was a good conversation. And like I said, he's humble. He stayed humble even, through his fame and stuff. He was a football coach for many, many, many years. I'm not sure if he's coaching right now, but he coached for many years. He coached my son for 2 seasons. Then we ended up going I moved to Pomona, and so my younger kids was playing for Snoop Dogg League. But Todd actually helped Snoop start winning games.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Snoop came to Todd for some advice. Todd don't know I know this, but Snoop came to Todd about some advice, like how you winning all these games, quote unquote. And this is what Snoop told me, what Todd told him. He said, you got to give up the passion for winning so much and just have fun. Stop putting so much pressure on the kids. Teach them right. Tell them to play hard, but don't beat them up all the time. If they make a mistake or something. And Snoop took that advice and he started winning and became a coach and got his own league. So that's something from Todd. Todd is real cool people. Todd is not a hater, has never been a hater. He's not going to try to keep nothing from you. If he can help you in any way, he'll do it, even if you his competition. I love Todd.
What do you remember about first hearing Batarram? And for anyone who doesn't know, let me give you a quick breakdown. Early 80s, LA. I can't remember who was in charge and who, made the final call, but they created this big ass tank with a big old ram in the front of it. And, drug dealers, by the time the cops would get in the house, before these battering rams, they would have already flushed the stuff down the toilet, swallowed it, threw it out, blah, blah, blah. So the cops come up with this bright idea to create this batter ram, boom, just bust into the side of your house. And a lot of the times they would bust into the wrong house. There were several times where they got the neighbors and they were supposed to get the other person. And so that ended kind of quickly. But, Toddy Tee and Mixmaster Spade made this song that, was talking about something very specific to LA. But once again, it blew up all over the country. But what do you remember about first hearing the song Batarram? And do you remember even, hearing stories about a Batarram from people in LA during that time?
Well, I was around. I was young. I was like 15, 16 years old. Well, I was about 15 when they started doing the Batarram. And so whenever they hit a house, whether it's LA or Compton, it was always on the news. But me first hearing the Batarram, I was still in high school, and I remember hearing it, but the copy that I had, it had been dubbed over 1 million times, so the quality wasn't good. It took me probably about a month to get a good quality tape. And it was the best. It was like me hearing Boys in the Hood. It was like, This is dope. This is dope. But it was on a mixtape with other songs, though. But when we heard that, it was the hottest thing in Compton, in Los Angeles, period, on the streets. It was the biggest mixtape there was in Los Angeles County. The post that I put in the post on Facebook, the group, it's a whole bunch of people since I posted Todd and Spade. Everybody's like, where can I get this? Where can I get this? Where can I get it? Where can I get it? Where can I get it? I wish I still had it. Of course I had all the records, but that's another interview. I went through a divorce and she took everything, stole everything, so I have none of that stuff that I had in the past. So I don't even have a copy of my own stuff. No hard copies of my own stuff. But the Batarram was the hottest thing around. I mean, everybody could relate because they seen it on the news. And everybody knew a drug dealer. Either you were a drug dealer or you know a drug dealer. And we knew about houses getting raided. We knew about everything because we seen it. So when the Batarram came out, we could all relate to it. And the ones who couldn't relate to it was in astonishment. Like, this is really happening in LA?
Mm-hmm.
This is really happening? Yeah, it was really happening. Like you said, a lot of times they go to the wrong house, so they start getting sued a lot. But so they had to stop it eventually. But it was a terrible thing. You get your whole house just bulldozed in. I mean, even if you are a drug dealer, they shouldn't have the right to do that. And then for them to be going in the wrong houses, that's even worse. But they didn't care about us, so but that's another story. Let's keep it positive.
Doing my research, I know you were friends with Nate Dogg. You were friends with Coolio. R.I.P. to both. I know Snoop Dogg. Even you and him have a close relation because he used to rock your clothing brand. Is it Westwear? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, you've been doing your research, huh?
I mean, I try to, man. I appreciate people coming on my show, so I always want to make sure I, properly do my research, especially when it comes to hip hop. But take us back to those days, man, the Westwear days, and Snoop is rocking your gear, and maybe even talk to us about the late great Nate Dogg and even Coolio.
Okay, well, at the time I was working on DMG and Daddy V album. I was the record company, the manager, the producer, and everything, and we ended up coming out with the album. So at the time I was doing a lot of production for a lot of different independent artists. So I didn't even tell you about this stuff. So I'm the king of the West Coast on mixtapes.
Okay.
So I started the Compton Swap Meet. I say that on purpose for a reason. Anybody don't know the real history, I started the Compton Swap Meet as big as it is with mixtapes. So when we came out with the album, once I started doing production, I left the Swap Meet alone, and Daddy V was up there by himself and with his employees, and even employees that I had left back. I let him have them. So I'm promoting the album and I'm producing music for people. So I stopped selling it. So one day I came, after I did everything I think it was a Saturday or something, I came to the Swap Meet just to chill, see the homies. And it was a Japanese dude up there. And come to find out, Daddy V was selling him mixtapes every month. He was coming from Japan every month. So you guys getting the whole backdrop of everything. The whole, nothing but the truth. So he was coming from Japan every month. He would buy clothes and buy hip hop stuff, anything black, anything urban that he think he can make some money off of in Japan. Because if you talk to any artist, even underground artists, they're going to always say Japan.
Yeah.
They love our heritage. They love our culture. They love our music. They love our clothes. They even love our food when they come out here. So I told one of my ex-employees who was working for Daddy V at the time, I said, here, go sell him these cassettes and these CDs of the DMG and Daddy V album. It's just a ghetto thing. So he went over there to sell him a CD and a tape. He ended up buying 10 cassettes from me and 10 CDs from me. Because my stuff is in stores and I'm shipping it out, but I'm still a hustler. I'm still a street hustler too. So I always walked around with my product. You know what I mean? So I sold him 10 and 10. A week later, he calls Daddy V and said, do you want to come to Japan? So of course we do. So we ended up going to Japan, and me being a hustler, like I said in the beginning, him buying clothes every month, I'm like, we can come up with our own clothes, our own design. So I designed the original, I came up with the name Westwear. I designed the original, or the tag and the label, the original design. That's how the clothing line started from there. I'm going to try to keep it positive without, saying anything negative about anybody. But so it got big. So I was manufacturing the clothes and I would send the clothes to Japan. Eventually we ended up getting a store there. Plus we had like 13 stores that we wholesale to, that my ex-partner wholesale to. So the stuff is blowing up. And me knowing all the rappers, if I go to a concert or something, or I'm with Coolio, or I'm with Snoop, or if I'm with Nate Dogg or Warren G or Mac 10, here, put this on, I'm going to take a picture. Of course, I'm from the hood. I'm DMG. They're not going to charge me like they're going to charge somebody else. So I'm accumulating all these pictures. Now we're getting flyers done. We're getting posters done. And one around Christmas time, we needed the clothes real fast. So instead of me shipping the clothes to Japan, I flew to Japan to deliver the clothes myself because it was going to be faster. It wouldn't sit a week in customs. I could just take it through with me, pay the fees, the taxes, the duties, and I'm gone. So it just so happened that Snoop was doing some concerts out there when I went. Well, my ex-partner's wife used to dance for a promoter when rappers came to the city, to Tokyo. So she knew the promoter. Well, she knew a promoter that knew the promoter for him performing. So we go to the hotel. I have to wait like everybody else, all these photographers and magazine writers and all that stuff. So he come in, and when he saw me, he said, yo, DMG and Daddy V is in motion. Snoop knew me, and I didn't know him. So we chopped it up. He gave me his house number in New Orleans or wherever Master P bought it. He gave me his cell phone number and he gave me his manager number. He wanted to hook up, like he was that like cool, like he was that cool. He wanted to link up with me, and that's how me and Snoop got hooked up, and that's how he started wearing the clothes and stuff. And that's the story how Westwear got with Snoop, and how it became big. And I ended up opening up me and my ex partner broke up. He tried to use me, and that's another story. So I ended up getting, I got a spot on Compton Boulevard off of Long Beach Boulevard, and that was my wholesale place. Then I opened up a retail store in right around the corner in walking distance, right on Long Beach Boulevard off of Compton Boulevard, which I shouldn't have opened up there, but that's another story. But that's the backdrop of, that's everything on Westwear, at least this segment. Maybe I'll come again and talk about stuff.
That's dope.
But that's how it started. Yeah. You getting everything that nobody else ever got.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. When was the first time you ever heard anything about Crips?
Well, when I first heard it, right, I was a youngster. It had to be around about 70 or maybe even 69. I remember the Herald Examiner, right? Remember the Herald Examiner, or do you recall it?
I'm 43. I do for sure.
Okay, so I used to sell newspapers on Western and Vernon. I worked as back then. You would go to the newspaper stands, get your newspapers, and you would be able to jump. It wasn't the I don't think it was even called the RTD. It was pre-RTD, whatever the name was. The bus is then, and you would jump on the bus and you go to the front door all the way back, and you would sell people newspapers, right? So at this time, an article had came out. It could have been 70. An article had came out about Raymond Washington as being public enemy number one, and that's what stood out to me at that time at a real early age, because I had these newspapers and selling them. So occasionally I would just go down the lines and read what was there, as a youngster.
Okay.
So that was the first time I was aware of it, because of the article that the Herald Examiner had printed up about Raymond Washington. It could even have been 71, Dusty. I'm not sure about the dates. Don't quote me on the date.
Yeah.
But
I feel you. Does this have anything to do with that murder? I believe it was after a concert over a jacket.
Oh, the Robert Ballou?
Yes.
Oh, Robert?
Yeah, that one.
I don't think so, because that was separate. That was a separate incident.
Gotcha.
Because Raymond was the East Side guy, and the guys that was involved in the Ballou murders down at the Palladium were West Side guys.
Okay.
Not saying that they were separate, because back then the Crips was one big old family. They wasn't separated. You know what I mean? The only thing you knew that they was Crips on the East Side, Crips on the West Side, Crips in Compton.
Okay. Let's go back to before I do that. Actually, let everybody know what Crips that you joined when you were younger.
I'm from originally from the Oaks Park area. So first. Well, our neighborhood is comprised of two different neighborhoods, right? Being that we're the only Crip set on Rosecrans, if you go anywhere from Avalon, from the 135s from Avalon all the way down to Atlantic, where the Cross Atlantics and Lime Hood are. Anywhere if you go up and down Rosecrans, you got Cedar Block, West Side, Fruit Town, Treetop, let's see, that would be Mulberry Street, Elm Street, Ludus Park, Mob, Cross the Lane, Line Hood. And if I'm missing any of the Pyro sets, forgive me on that one. But so we're set in the middle of all these different neighborhoods. So there was two neighborhoods. There was Oaks Park, Businessman, and then there was Midtown Crip. What happened, my younger homie of mine, well, he was maybe a year or two, my junior. So his name was Bullet. We call him Bullet, but his name is Kim Bullet Tate.
Yeah, I've heard his name several times.
The two neighborhoods was kind of like at odds at each other for one back in that time. So Bullet didn't want to have nothing, being that he came from the Oak Side. His first gang he created was called the Cobras, right? And when you was in the Cobras, to be in the Cobras, you had to remember the little the triangle incense.
Yes,
they
damn.
Back
yeah,
then.
yeah.
You just have to put one of them on your arm and light it, and when it burned down, whoever moved first was out of the game.
And we think the milk crate challenge is done.
Yeah, Yeah. So that was Kim. That was his initiation, man. Whether you can hold the challenge on the incense burning down. So, but that didn't work out too well. So then he just came up. He was fascinated with the Ultimate Santana, Carlos Santana. If you look on that album, the Ultimate Santana, that's that original writing on that album is where Turtle had on his hat. If you go back to that '84 documentary, Gang City, with me, Turtle, Bad Habit Rabbit, Mondo, Twin, Gertie, let's see, Primo Pete, Big Bus, Rick Carter, Rat, Scrunchy, and let's see, and I did name Twin. Okay, all of us on there, right? If you go back there, you look at that hat that Turtle has on. It has that original writing off of that album.
Damn.
So that's where the name Santana.
Never knew that in my life. Okay, named after Santana, Carlos Santana. Okay,
Carlos Santana, man.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you think about all the color, if you look at that album, how colorful and all the art and grams on it, you get fascinated by that. You know what I mean? As kids, the colors and design and everything.
Did they do things to try to shield what was really going on in the inner cities during '84? I heard they did things like clear out a lot of homeless encampments or push them down.
Well, around the Coliseum and around that exposition, that Adams area, they did. You know what I mean? So what we were trying to conclude in our minds, why would they even lump us in that when actually, if everything was like, let me kind of back up a little bit so we can build up to that 84. So 79, 78, Mac Thomas was murdered. 79, Raymond Washington was murdered. Him and Ricky Silas. 79, basically Tookie was gone too because we never saw Tookie outside of a prison wall from 79 on to the day he was executed, right? Yeah. So then the prison industrial complex kicked up, right? They started building prisons like it was nobody's business. They building prison. Right in the 80s, a big ton of cocaine just dropped in the middle of the city. You know what I mean? Mysteriously, like we went over there. We didn't own boats. We didn't own airplanes. We didn't own none of it. We didn't go Colombia and negotiate no deals with the Colombians, right? But yet, all the cocaine wind up in the hands of who? The gang
folks, yeah.
Right? So when that happened, so now you got all this chaos. So now we're involved in the trade. You understand? We running pharmaceuticals without license. We run full pharmaceutical businesses without license. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good way to put it.
In other words, the government had license to run theirs. We just didn't have no license. That was the problem. We didn't pay taxes. So anytime you in affected commerce, that means, you're doing something wrong against the government. So actually they will prosecute you based on those ideologies. But anyway, so we start doing that. So now you got 84. Now you got the Olympics. Now you got to do some pushback because you want this Olympics to seem like this is the city of hope, city of angels, and all this other stuff. And this is the place to be. You got Hollywood, you got Disneyland, you got the beaches, you got all these wonderful things that go on. But yet you got poverty, you got homelessness, you got police brutality, you got racism. See, those are things they don't want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So, but they want to make the city look like, make it beautify and put up all these different events for the Olympics and push people out that were in those areas. You can't be in this area no longer. You know what I mean? In other words, let's close the curtain on this stuff and put this stuff in front of the curtain so you won't know what's behind the curtain, so to speak. So that's the way I saw it. And I thought all those things ran in concurrence with one another.
The economics of the hood changed because we during the 80s when it was a lot of money because every brothers were spending money. Brothers were making money.
Okay.
They were spending money.
A lot of money.
Okay. Swap meet had your jewelry, had your sounds. You can get tires, you can get rims, your speaker boxes, you can buy your music. That became the spot for the community. But the only problem was, again, you got brothers out here taking penitentiary chances to get the money, only for it to leave the community in one fell swoop.
Only for it to leave the community in one fell swoop. $500 right here I just made today from selling dope. Now I'm going to go put it in that other community over there. I would almost applaud selling. Oh, if you are going to keep the money in your community. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds deranged. But I would almost applaud selling dope and profiting off of it if you were going to spend the money in your community. But once again, we don't even have a community. Show me a community in Los Angeles, a black community. Show me a black community in Los Angeles. I can only speak for LA. I can't speak for Atlanta. I know Atlanta has a lot. I know Philadelphia. I know there are other areas that probably, I don't even know, but it probably have black communities where every shop that you walk down a major street is owned by a black person. But I guarantee that's not in LA. Guarantee it's not in LA. You show me a town where it's the majority of black businesses in one area and everyone's supporting everyone like a community does. And I will go there and buy something from each and every one of those vendors. But I can't because there isn't any.
Okay. And that was a part of the economics that most people didn't realize that's still very prominent in the black community.
That's the part of the economics they didn't understand when they started the Compton Swap Meet. When they brought in the Compton Swap Meet, they did not fast forward 10 years from now, and it was going to be nothing but others. Once again, I'm saying that respectfully, selling stuff to black and brown folks. A lot of stuff that's not positive. Oh, they didn't think about that. I don't know. Did they envision a bunch of black and Latinos coming in and saying, yeah, I would love to own a business here? Don't get me wrong. Of course, there were a few black businesses in the Compton Swap Meet. When I say a few, literally just a few. Excuse me. There was a Jamaican spot, a spot that was kind of like Bob Marley. They sold incense and shit. You guys, if you know the Compton Swap Meet, you know what I'm talking about. I can't even think of another black. Can someone help me out in the Compton Swap Meet in the 90s and even going into the 2000s when they closed down? I literally can only think of one black business. I'm sorry. That's all I could think of because that's probably all there is. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the history of the Compton Swap Meet? Do you think it was a good thing, a bad thing? The Compton Swap Meet eventually closed its doors. It was doing a hard time. I would go towards the end. I would go to the Compton Swap Meet, and there was 8 people in the whole swap meet, and there's a lot of. But because the age of the internet came, and you can get everything on the internet. Now you didn't have to go risk getting shot at the Compton Swap Meet to pick up a Raider hat. You could get a Raider hat on Amazon. So that got rid of the Compton Swap Meet. It's gone, but it has a very interesting history, and I could still smell it. Like I said, as a kid, I enjoyed the Compton Swap Meet. It's actually bringing back memories. Bringing back a lot of memories. But comment down below. Do you think the Compton Swap Meet was a good thing or a bad thing? Would it have been as successful if it was a peace album? A true peace album. A true peace album. Because I remember watching the news stories. They were everywhere. And they're still on YouTube. Go check them out. Type in Bangin on Wax news story, and I'm sure 12 of them will pop up from that time. They were everywhere. The whole country was talking about this. But I remember watching news stories, and they were all together. It was almost like, and I hate to compare it to this because real lives have been lost, but real lives get lost in wrestling also. But it's like watching professional wrestling, and then you see behind the scenes, you see the bad guy and the good guy hanging out, and they're playing cards and sipping whiskey, and you're like, wait, you guys hated each other in the ring. What the heck is going on? But nope. I was watching them on TV and I was like, wait, they were talking about being total enemies on the songs, but here they are on TV and they're all together and they're friends and it was one of the first mind F moments for me. It was like a mind-blowing moment. Like, oh shit, wait, what the is this Hollywood? Wait, hold on. I was, and keep in mind, I was 13, 14, something like that at that time. But let's keep going with Mike Frankie, engineer from Bangin on Wax, talking about the bad side of Bangin on Wax.
And I don't want to disrespect the dead. I don't ever want to be perceived like that, right? But Ronnie and I had a lot of conversations about that. I said, bro, you're not in the streets. You don't see the impact that this record is having. Tweet did.
So Ronnie Phillips was the guy who put the project together, one of the main guys who put the project together. So when he says Ronnie didn't understand the streets, he's talking about the guy who put the album together. Now, when he says tweet, he's talking about Tweety Bird Lok. Tweety Bird Lok is Compton legend. I guess that's the best way to say it. Very early, rare gangster rapper from Kelly Park, Compton Crip. And he had a tape, and I had the tape. I bought it at Underworld Records, right on Castlegate and Alondra. Shout out to Big A, who's still doing his thing. Him and I share the same exact first name, Arnold. Big A Arnold, Underworld Records. I bought Tweety Bird Lok's album. Tape, just the tape. And I think it was just the single. It was the one where he was dissing NWA. He had a song where he was dissing Eazy-E. But Tweety Bird Lok, man, he was on his way to becoming a legend back then. But for whatever reason, he just didn't reach the success that I felt he should have reached. And he passed away just maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, if my memory serves me correct. But just recently, within the past 5 or 6 years. But him and I were in talks, and that's why I know it was about that time, because him and I were in talks about him coming on my show and being on it and doing an episode. And then, yeah, just... it never came to fruition, unfortunately, and Tweety Bird Lok passed. But so when he's saying Ronnie Phillips in the story and he's talking Tweety Bird Lok, R.I.P., that's who he is talking about. So let's go back to Mike Frankie, engineer from Bangin on Wax.
And I don't want to disrespect the dead. I don't ever want to be perceived like that, right? But Ronnie and I had a lot of conversations about that. I said, bro, you're not in the streets. You don't see the impact that this record is having. Tweet did, though. And Tweet came to me and he's like, man, we should have listened to you. I said, I tried to tell you niggas, you didn't know what you were getting into when you did that, and then, disrespected my man Ronnie Phillips, but he wanted to be in the lap of the white boys. He was like, yo, man, I got Rush Regan, he gonna do this and do that. And guess what? Ain't nobody from that record or their descendants spend a dime of that money. That's it. That record sent their kids to college.
Compton has unveiled their new high school, and it is met with mixed emotions. Some residents are happy that the children have a state-of-the-art learning center. Some residents say Compton has other things they should be spending that money on. Potholes, graffiti removal, street signs hanging off of the pole. What do you think about this new high school? $200 million high school. And Dr. Dre contributed $10 million of that for a performing arts center. This high school is state of the art. Probably one of, if not the best high school right now in California. And it's right there in the city of Compton. But a lot of people are not feeling it. I'm part of certain Facebook groups. I'm part of certain Instagram groups when it comes to Compton, because I do have strong ties to Compton. I love Compton. Compton is a second home of mine. Do I live there? No, I don't live there, but have a lot of family members that live there. My aunt lives there. And I lived there in the 90s with my best friend. I mean, I was at his house every single day. So I have strong ties to Compton. And it's very interesting to me, knowing Compton, knowing the people of Compton, why anyone would have an issue with this. I get it. I understand that, look, Compton does have its problems. Boy, does it have its problems. You ever driven down Long Beach Boulevard? I don't know, 2 p.m. on a Friday? You want to get some cheap thrills? Go. You will see every kind of crackhead, prostitute, dressed, not even dressed. Schools nearby, and they're just walking around. I mean, you get off the freeway. get off Rosecrans, get off of Alondra, especially off the 710. Soon as you get off the freeway, graffiti everywhere. So I get it. But people, this is a high school. We can't be mad at them putting up a high school for kids. We can't be upset at that. That is a problem. If you are upset at that, that is a problem. And you got to understand, you got to know that education has, the money that goes to education has nothing to do with fixing a goddamn pothole. Has nothing to do. So you can't be upset at that. You should be upset at yourself. If you're upset at that, you should be upset at yourself. Why would I say that? Why would I say that? Because, look, I've been to Compton City Council meetings. I've probably been to more Compton City Council meetings than the average person living in Compton right now. Probably. If I had to guess, I would say yes. Every time I go to a Compton City Council meeting, what do you think? How many people you think show up? 500, 600, I don't know what. 1,000? 50? No, not even 50. No. 20? Nope, not even 20. Maybe 10. 10 to 20 maybe, if that. And it's the same one. Every time I've gone, it's been a handful of people who are the same folks that go. They're all older. And they care about what the fuck is going on in their community. Because guess what? They've lived in this city for 40, 50 years. They were raised in this city. Their mother, their grandmother gave them that house. And they remember what Compton used to be. One of my best friends tells me about what Compton used to be. He's 22, 23 years older than I am. My dude Alonzo tells me Compton was once a place you were proud of to live. And it was not rough in the early 70s, in the 60s to live in Compton. What made Compton go downhill? A lot of people would say the blue team and the red team fighting over dumb like colors. What do you think about Special Ed's comments a few months back? You probably heard them. You probably heard me and Lonzo talk about it, where Special Ed said that and this is the piece that everyone ran with. There was a lot of context around it during the hour or so interview on the Drink Champs, but Special Ed said, quote, NWA brought destruction to hip hop. In hindsight, what are your thoughts, on Special Ed's comments?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because me and my wife did a video about that, and I saw you and Alonzo talking about it too, and he has a point, but there were still some rappers, and I was doing some research myself, the Bigger and Deffer album came out before NWA, and LL said some crazy stuff on that album. He said, I'm going to take my gun and shoot you in your face. This is before NWA. So I'm like, just because LL put out I Need Love, you can't let him off the hook and just look at West Coast hip hop. I mean, LL said some, but I guess because NWA just was pure aggression and LL would mix in the love song, so he kind of looked like he was PG and they were R-rated. So I see where Special Ed is coming from, but I don't think that that's necessarily the case because Bigger and Deffer was a huge album back then. I mean, how many people did you hear going down the street and there's Samurai Suzuki's blasting LL back then? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think the End for Life album was a lot harsher than the Straight Outta Compton album, just lyrically.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that. Yeah, a lot of people would definitely say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were the ones. Yeah,
I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they were the ones that made me fall in love with hip hop. Ironically, was NWA and Eazy-E. Just hearing.
Yeah.
I had heard Fat Boys. I had heard, other Run DMC and all that. But when I heard Eazy-E and NWA, I was like, oh, I like this. It was Eazy-E's voice that actually got me off top.
Right.
Yeah, and I even remember Too Short was a close second because my friend had this tape of Too Short. It was a white tape. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
It had cuss words. It had Don't Fight the Feeling. It was Life is Too Short, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But we had to sneak and listen to that tape because we were like 9, 10, 11 years old listening to this dude call it bitch and stuff like that. And like it was a much different time, dude. You almost felt like you were doing something bad, you know what I'm saying? But I loved it, you know what I'm saying? It was a good time, but nowadays it's different because there was, I know they were calling girls bitches and this and that, but there was a message behind a lot of stuff that we grew up listening to. Yeah. NWA was definitely spitting some game at times, you know what I'm saying? Dr. Dre, the Chronic album, if you listen to it, I mean, it's going, I'm fast forwarding a few years, obviously, but the Chronic album, if you listen to it, it was kind of a political album. They were talking about the riots in it, and they were talking about, Black Power and Africa, and taking care of the kids. I mean, it was surrounded by a bunch of BS, so you couldn't. I say BS respectfully. It was surrounded by a bunch of gang stuff and all that in the album. But if you really listen to the Chronic album from front to back, it was a little political. So I don't know, that is the difference. But yeah, going back to Special Ed, it kind of sucks that NWA got the brunt of it because there were people before NWA that were talking, that stuff too from the East Coast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like what's his name? Just Ice. I mean, he wasn't saying anything too extreme, but he called himself a gangster way before. Yeah. Like, NWA didn't even call themselves gangster rappers. They were reality rappers, right. It's kind of the media that labeled them that. But, I rapped for years. I didn't cuss on any of my stuff, but I was aggressive. So, people would think, I remember people would hear my songs and think I cuss. I was like, I didn't say one word. It's just my tone was aggressive. So a lot of raps can be aggressive without the R rating and still be liked. But because I personally get sick of all the cussing. Like if I play a song, even Tupac, I'll pick clean version. I just get tired of all the F-bombs.
Yeah. All right. So last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up and give you a chance to promote anything you have coming up. But if you could do a same like you did for boxing earlier, what is your Mount Rushmore of rappers?
Oh man, definitely Tupac, man. That dude was special. Tupac, gotta put Cube up there. I think Tupac is almost a spinoff of Ice Cube. He just kind of went more political. So definitely Cube. Tupac, let's see. I'm gonna throw Big Daddy Kane up there because I just think that dude is extremely lyrical. A lot of people may not like me for this one, but I'm just lyrically based. I'm gonna say Eminem.
He's in my top 5 for sure, and I'll say it proudly. I'll say it proudly.
Yeah. Yeah, no one can deny Eminem's lyrical ability, man.
Isn't that crazy how we have to preface it with, I know everybody's going to be upset at this one, but it's Eminem. Yeah. Like anybody who says Eminem, I've heard people say Eminem is whack. I'm like, are you just don't know about it. No offense, but you don't know about hip hop if you think Eminem is whack. Like just because I don't like somebody, I can't say I was never a big DMX fan. I was never a big DMX fan, but I cannot say DMX is whack. Like dog, I get it, you know what I'm saying? But I just I don't know, man. But that's just me. But I feel you on that. Yeah. Dude. Yeah, let me parlay that into a couple minutes if you don't mind keeping you a couple minutes longer. Oh yeah. What did you hear? Did you hear was it Umar Johnson that said Eminem can't be considered one of the GOATs because he's white?
Oh yeah, I believe I commented on you and Alonzo's stream about that.
What do you think?
Umar just don't like white people. That's all that is. I mean, if a white dude donated $10,000 to his charity, he probably still have a negative thing. Like, well, how do I know this is $10,000? Is it counterfeit? Like, I think this dude just he's got a hate issue, and he knows good and well he could put his favorite rapper up against Eminem, and I can almost guarantee Eminem would destroy them in a battle.
Yep.
So
it's going to be a hard night for anybody's favorite rapper if they go up against Eminem. You know, it could be any
that
given
dude.
Sunday. You know, I mean, but it's going to be a rough night for any MC that you for any of your top 5 out there listening right now. If they go up against Eminem, it's going to be a tough night for them.
Oh yeah, I mean Eminem can make car rhyme with orange. I mean that dude is he's a monster.
Real talk.
But
yeah, dope, dude. Well, it was great talking to you, man. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you have coming up next. The floor is yours.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. You can catch me on YouTube, the J. Roos Theory. I sometimes do interviews over at my buddy's page, Andrew Tucker World. We just interviewed upcoming Ukrainian heavyweight Vlad Tsarenko, 19 wins, 16 KOs. We interviewed James Bashir, who just trained the heavyweight champion, Alexander Usyk, and Jarrell Big Baby Miller. So if you would like and you love boxing talk, please subscribe to the J. Roos Theory. I got a backup platform in WJ where I talk about everything pretty much, but boxing too. So thanks for having me, Dusty. You and Alonzo are class act, and I tune in and watch both of you guys' channels, man.
Appreciate you, my man. I definitely look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me. No doubt. I enjoyed it.
Most def. Have a great night, all right?
All right. You too.
Peace.
Peace.